Hey everyone, welcome to the 8th article of the Go Rogue article series. Now that SOR is launched, we're looking back at the starter characters from Awakenings and trying to see what kind of cool decks we can make now that we have Spirit of Rebellion cards. So the deck we're going to look at today is looking at villains, and we're going to look at 2 Stormtroopers coming in at 14 points, and an elite version of Kylo, which is 13. So it's obviously not optimized. We're using these starter characters to see what kind of new themes and fun stuff we can do in our favorite game. So we'll get started right away, and I guess the theme behind this deck is blank dice. I guess people have seen a lot of blank dice rolled, and they get really mad about it, and I'm hoping that this is one deck where you won't be too upset when you roll a blank. Both Stormtroopers are the only character that have 2 blank faces in the entire game right now. So I thought we'd take advantage of that, having half our starting dice having 2 blanks, and started to look at some of the cards that do that. So we'll start by looking at this event. It's an event from Awakenings that was an uncommon. Nowhere to Run. It costs 2, and you turn each of your dice showing a blank to any side. So now that we have all these new SOR cards, there's a bunch of new cards that have double blanks. We used to pretty much just have Holocron and this DH-17 blaster pistol, but now we've got Lure of Power, which is a great new card. You can modify any type of symbol you want, except for special, I guess, with a 1 or a 2, and it has 2 blanks, so you can turn that into a +2 ranged, or a +2 melee, or whatever you need. And we've got the Z6 Riot Control Baton. Again, 2 blanks, you can turn it into 2 straight-up melee damage, or a 3 for 1, so using Nowhere to Run when you have 2 to 3 of these out and 1 or 2 Stormtroopers on a blank, you can set up like a 10 to 12 damage swing in your next turn, and your opponent has to respond to it, or they're going to lose a character. So this is a big victory condition in your deck. If you draw it right away, you usually toss it back in because you want to roll it in the middle of the game, not early on usually. Alright, so in SOR we get a bunch of other blank manipulation, so we'll look at 2 of the cards here. First we'll look at Anger. It says, play only if 2 or more of your dice show blanks. This is a good reason to run blue with these troopers. And then resolve an opponent's die showing damage, ranged or melee, as if it were your die. So you can take your opponent's 3 melee from Vader or IG-88's 3 ranged and resolve it yourself. And then you have those blanks, so then you can nowhere run them into damage and deal more damage the next turn. So that's a really great zero-cost removal card for our Stormtroopers here. We also get Manipulate. It says turn one of your dice to a side showing blank, then turn an opponent's die to a side showing blank. So you can blank one of your dice to blank an opponent's, and then you've set yourself up for Anger the next turn. So you're really comboing these blanks to build things up for you. So to get blanks, like I said, we have our 2 troopers, and we have 6 upgrades here that have 2 blank sides each. We have Manipulate to create blanks, but we also have Power of the Dark Side. So this is a starter set only supporter from Awakenings that doesn't get used a whole lot. It's 2 costs, so it's pretty hefty. It's your whole investment for the turn, but it says exhaust this support to re-roll one of your dice. If that die rolls a blank, deal 2 unblockable damage to a character. So you can use this to re-roll before you start discarding cards to re-roll, searching for those blanks. If you happen to get one, you might set up an Anger and also deal 2 damage to someone. That's a pretty good, exciting combo. So we'll look through the rest of the deck really quickly. We've got Force Training, which provides a range damage or +2 melee for Kylo to work with. It's got a focus, and we really have it here for this special. This deck can spend a lot of resources really fast. All your main weapons, your DH-17, your Control Baton, your Trooper, and Kylo, have a face that costs resources. So you're going to want to generate resources, and Force Training is one good way to do that. And then I talked about blanks being a theme for this deck. It's not just turning your dice to blanks and taking advantage of them, but also your opponent's. So we have Force Push, which is blue character only, so you can only play it on Kylo unless you tweak this and put Holocron in here or something. It comes with range damage, so you can use it with your Stormtroopers as one big action. A 2 discard face, and then 2 specials that say turn 2 of an opponent's dice to sides of your choice. So if your opponent's already claimed because they had a bunch of blanks out there, you could turn their blank to a 3 damage and then resolve it using Anger. Pretty fun. You could turn them to both blanks and then use Feel Your Anger to remove extra dice. So it's a really powerful card. It forces your opponents into rerolls, or just gives you advantage of the dice in the field. Immobilize is very similar. It provides a ton of shields to keep things alive, and then you can action remove this die to turn a die to a side showing blank. One thing that's cool here that I haven't seen a lot of people do, because there's usually not a reason for you to want your dice to be blank, is you can turn one of your dice to a side showing blank to set up anger or nowhere to run. Say all your troopers want to roll shields or not shields, resources for some reason that turn, and you have nowhere to run in hand and a bunch of other blanks. Well, you'd rather just turn those to blanks, nowhere to run it into a big combo amount of damage and swing all at once. So you can use this on your opponent's dice, but also your own. Originally I didn't have this in here. I had Holocrons and some more abilities, but I've really decided that 1 cost upgrades are really important to this deck. If you can get a Blaster Pistol and an Imperial Discipline out first turn, you have a good advantage dice-wise. And this card is just great in general. It does have a plus ranged modifier, and the plus melee isn't useless since you have Kylo in your deck. You get a shield and 2 resource sides, and then really the action is the main part. It says remove this die to turn one of this character's or upgrade dice to a side showing ranged or resources. So if you end up with Stormtroopers showing blanks and you can't get them, or a 2 ranged for 1 cost, you can turn that just to a 2 ranged flat out. Or if you need a bunch of resources to play, so we have 2 copies of Endless Ranks, you can turn things to resources so you can generate the money to revive someone right away at the beginning of the next turn. Alright, just 3 more cards to look at that we haven't talked about too much. I have 2 copies of Doubt. It's a new removal-ish card, I would say, from Spirit of Rebellion. We roll an opponent's die, then that opponent either resolves that die or removes it. I found this to be great against Vibroknife. I mean, they could reroll it into melee damage, but they can't reroll those resolve those modifiers with it. So you can really get rid of that threat and start being able to deal with other things. It also works great on the TIE Pilot. The TIE Pilot can barely resolve a die by himself because he's a modifier. So if you reroll an opponent's die, then that opponent either resolves that die or removes it. So with the TIE Pilot, they're probably removing their die. 2 copies of Flank with 3 characters, you pretty much have to include this. And then, like I said, 2 copies of Feel Your Anger. So even though it doesn't seem like we have a lot of removal events, when you start thinking about anger as removal, and all of these events as removal, that's 8 removal events. And then you've got some soft removal, I would say, Force Push, turning things to blank, Immobilize, turning things to blank, and Manipulate, turning things to blank. That's all some sort of soft removal. You're either forcing them to reroll it, which gives you more actions to respond, or you're killing their turn by making things blank when they can't reroll. So that's the new deck. Hope you guys try it out. I've recorded a couple videos on it. I have to finish commentating them, but I'll try to get one posted right away with the article. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy. Tune in next week, and we'll look at the Awakenings Hero Starters, Elite Rey, Elite Finn, and see what they can do with our new SOR cards.